Hey everybody, welcome back to Mac Kiteboarding. Today we're going to talk to you about some tips that we have for you if you're riding in cold, frigid, whatever you want to call it, temperatures. We're up here in the Great White North, so when we talk to people about riding in the winter, they're always just like, what, you guys are crazy? Why would you do that? You must just like get frostbitten every time you go out. I could never do that. But in reality, it's really not too bad. A lot of times, actually, I'm just as warm when it's cold out as I am, on a summer day, just depending on, the level of preparation, if you're doing everything right. And of course, you acclimate to it as well. But today we have some good tips for you if you want to ride in cold weather, how to do that safely and comfortably, and enjoy more time in the water and more comfortable session. All right, so the first one we have for you, this is kind of our overall mantra for riding in cold water. If you start warm and you stay warm, then you'll be happy, okay? So what we mean by that is you don't want to roll up and have to get into a sort of wet, cold, partially frozen wetsuit in a cold parking lot with the wind blowing on you, going into the water, cold already, you're only going to get colder. So you always want to start extra warm. And part of that's preparation before you even leave the house, but then also there's some steps along the way that we're going to tell you that'll really help you start warm and stay warm. And then also, always want to think safety when you're out in cold weather. And if you're starting very warm, that way, if your suit gets flushed or something else happens, it gives you, a better baseline to start at so that you can get in and get to a point where you can get warm safely. If you're starting cold and you get even colder, it can get dangerous pretty fast. So you always want to start warm. Part of that, we suggest you got, number one, good equipment, good rubber. If you don't have good rubber and you're in truly cold conditions, there's really nothing you can do. There's no tip to help you. If you have a leaky wetsuit, if your wetsuit's just not warm enough for the conditions you're out in, if you don't have the proper accessories, footwear, gloves, hood, that are meant for those kind of conditions, then it's really, not going anywhere very fast. It's going to be, uncomfortable. It's going to be, maybe borderline unsafe depending on the situation. So, definitely invest in good neoprene. If you have to choose when to spend your money, spend it on good neoprene. It's going to get you more time in the water. It's going to make you more comfortable for longer sessions, and it's going to make sure that you're safe out there. It also tends to last longer and just be more comfortable in general. So it's a good time to spend some money if you need to, or at least go hunting, for some good deals on really good equipment for cold weather. There's no shortcut to that outside of maybe finding a good deal on a closeout or something like that. So, good hooded 6'5" or 5'4" wetsuit, 5 to 8 millimeter boots, 5-ish millimeter gloves or mittens or lobster claws, whatever you want to do there, depending on the conditions. That's going to have you staying warm. Once you start warm, that's going to lock in that heat, help you build that internal core temperature and keep it there, keep it comfortable, and also allow your body good dexterity and not fatigue your muscles too prematurely. So that's all part of good gear, good wetsuits, good fit as well. So if you have any questions about that, always reach out to us here at the shop. Second, we recommend you get suited before you get out of the car, okay? So that could mean if you're close to home, maybe you suit up at home, drive to your spot in your wetsuit. It's not always perfect, it's not always super comfortable, but it's gonna allow you to warm up and kind of break in that wetsuit before you get to the beach. And it's gonna make sure that you don't need to change outdoors in the freezing cold wind. That is the worst. So if you can, get dressed at home, or if you have a big enough vehicle, get dressed in your car with the heat on so that you're starting warm and getting out there on a good foot. All right, secondly, we recommend you take a hot beverage with you. So whether that's just warm water, tea, coffee, whatever your pleasure is there, get something warm in your belly, get something warm in your body. It's really amazing how quickly that warms your body up and keeps it warm for a short period like that. Having a nice tall warm glass before you head out, and if you're like me, you pull an extra bit of move, fill up like a 2-liter bottle with some warm water to pour down your soup right before you go. That's a good tip as well. But yeah, just having something warm to sip on really elevates that, that core temperature and allows you to get up there nice and warm, heat up your suit, make it nice and toasty so that you can stay warm while you're out there. Next thing we're going to talk about, once you do get out of the car and you had your hot beverage and your toasty warm, we're going to work on staying warm. So depending on your conditions, if it's 45 degrees and sunny out, not that windy, maybe you don't need to do this step, but if you get the kind of conditions we do here, it might be sub-zero with wind chill, stuff like that, pretty hairy, freezing conditions. Putting a jacket on, even like winter gloves while you're setting up your gear, getting everything oriented, set up. It's going to keep the wind off you, keep the radiator effect from blowing through your suit and chilling you off. And then also it's just nice to have that to throw on when you pack up after your session, just to keep the wind off you and allow your body to warm back up when you're standing there packing up. In a windy beach, a cold windy beach can be pretty chilly if you're not prepared. So, again, just thinking ahead, bringing that stuff and, not taking the lazy route, which I've done many times and I always regret it. Just, dang, should have just threw that jacket on. Now I'm cold, I'm getting in the water already cold and all that. So, next thing I'm going to talk about, it's more about grip. So you're putting on these thick gloves, it's harder to grip your stuff, whether that's a kiteboarding control bar, your surfboard, whether it's your foil board or your wing. That grip between your fingerprints and your gear, now you got a thick layer of neoprene in there that can kind of shift around, and maybe your hand shift around in the glove. It's really going to help to make that as tacky as possible. So rubbing a little cold water surf wax on your hands can definitely help, or rubbing a little bit on anything you want to be able to grip. Whether that's your wing handles or the edges of your board can get quite slippery with your mittens sometimes. Rubbing a little extra surf wax on there, cold weather style, is going to allow you a little extra grip and tackiness so that you're not sliding around. You don't need to grip it as tightly, and that way your hands won't fatigue as quick either. So that's really key, especially if you're gripping something that's not all that grippy to begin with. A lot of kiteboarding control bars or wing handles are already pretty grippy, so it's pretty good, and maybe you don't need to do that. But some are, so rubbing a little surf wax on it can help with that. Lastly, after you pack your gear up, driving home in your equipment if you're nearby is always a really comfortable way to do that. You can hop in the shower, rinse off your wetsuit gear, hang it up to make sure it's staying in good condition, doesn't get the funk, but also that way you don't need to undress in a cold parking lot, or you can even strip off in your car if that works good for you. But yeah, putting a couple of towels down or a seat cover that's meant for that, it'll protect your seat from getting wet. If you got a short drive home, otherwise, I guess you just got to bear the elements quickly before you jump in your hopefully warm car and hit some of that warm beverage to warm up again, and of course rehydrate. So those are some tips from us here at the shop. We just chatted about it the other day, like, hey, what's some of your favorite tips? Oh, what do you do? And this is a list we've kind of come up with that we all like and stand behind. So if you follow some of these steps, should help you get out there when it's a little colder, enjoy your sessions, and be warmer, more comfortable, and more safe. So this has been Tucker with MACkiteboarding.com, and we'll see you next time.